Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monash Global Medical AI Challenge. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you might be. My name is Associate Professor Kwa Kao, and with Isabella and Deepak, we'll be organizing the competition. And so we're going to run through a couple of slides now just to explain what's happening and the motivation for this competition. So firstly, who am I? So my name is Kwa. So it's you can remember it like koala. So just the first part of that. So I studied medicine at Monash. So I became a doctor in Australia. I also studied public health in London, so in the United Kingdom. I worked as a doctor for a couple of years at Austin Health, which is a big major hospital in Melbourne, Australia. But then after working in medicine for a little bit, I decided that I wanted to have a desire for greater impact. And so I changed careers and decided to study engineering at Stanford University in the United States in California as a Fulbright scholar, where I majored in computer science and mechanical engineering. I then did a neurotech startup in the Bay Area before joining Monash University as an associate professor in medicine and engineering. I've since founded my own medical AI lab, and so part of these efforts are, part of our work to kind of teach the world about medical AI and how it could benefit, patients around the world. Along the way, I've also worked at companies like IBM Watson in medical AI, surgical AI at the University of Oxford in the United Kingdom, as well as adaptive brain-computer interfaces at the University of California, San Francisco. Now, a lot of people ask why I do medtech, and I usually answer with three reasons. One is that with medical technology and with medical AI, you can have huge amounts of impact. When doctors work, they usually work with patients one-on-one, but when you build something, you can impact millions of lives. The second is that I really enjoy building stuff, and hopefully you get a taste for that in this year's competition. And then thirdly, creativity and curiosity is really rewarded. Hopefully all of you now have been through at least 1 year of medicine, and you know that, medicine is a lot of facts and a lot of, memorization. But when you start to build things for medical AI or for medical technology, you have to be creative, you have to be curious, you have to ask a lot of questions. Now I hand over as well to Deepak and Isabella to explain their backgrounds and their interests in the field as well.
Thanks, Kwa. Hey, everyone. My name is Deepak. I'm one of the students who works in Kwa's lab. So just for a bit of context, I'm currently just graduated, so going to my internship next year. I did a honors year, which is sort of like a research year you can do here, which occurs between your fourth and fifth years of medical school. Did that at the Center for Eye Research Australia in Aging and Retinal Imaging and AI. Along the way, I self-taught myself computer science using sort of Stanford's archived courses, and also participated in Fast AI, which I think is an excellent online sort of learning platform for deep learning. I then met Kwa, joined the lab, hopefully to look for translational work and to explore the world of startups. Just graduated from medicine at Monash, and I recently got a good opportunity to go to Stanford to study machine learning and tech entrepreneurship, and just came back from that as well. At the lab, I'm an education and project lead, so looking at currently working on a project for psychiatry care delivery. Have a startup in education AI, and also working on one on a clinical co-pilot, as well as media work for the lab to make sure that we can spread the education and share the messages with as many people as possible.
Thanks, Deepak. So, hi everyone. It's really lovely to meet you all. So, my name is Isabella. So, similar to Deepak, I study and I work at Associate Professor Kwa Kao's lab, and I'm also currently a medical student at Monash University. So, some of my research at the lab involves kind of analyses of how is AI currently being integrated into the healthcare workforce, as well as actually studying the behavior of LLMs in clinical settings and some of its traits. And along with that, I'm the co-founder and president of Nexus, which I will be explaining on the next slide. And along with that, I recently represented Australia at the Asia Europe Foundation's Young Leaders Summit. So I've recently really gotten into the sphere of AI policy and governance, and I'm currently an AI policy fellow at Berkeley's Basis Initiative. And I also currently am involved with the Ethical AI Alliance. So I'm very passionate about this side of education and knowledge, and I believe that agency comes from. Sorry. So as I was just saying, I really do believe that agency does come from knowledge, and I believe we need more voices in medicine that innovate and are part of the decision-making process within policy and governance. And so that kind of leads on to also my passion as the co-founder and president of Nexus. So Nexus is essentially a nationwide initiative, well, now actually global initiative, that we've aimed to equip students as well as clinicians and innovators with some of the knowledge and tools to shape the future of healthcare. So along with this event, we've already ran multiple vibe coding hackathons, intro to programming boot camps, as well as networking events, really aimed at bringing together a community of medical students and doctors and innovators to really shape that future of healthcare. So we also have our link to our website there. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So we've talked about the lab. So it's the Cow Lab, so it's just named after my surname for medical AGI and ASI, and we'll explain what those mean a little bit more later in the course, right? But artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence are hopefully things that we will actually see in our lifetime. And I think that this kind of technology is tipped to have massive, massive impact around the world. And so we hope that you get to feel some of that throughout the course. Now, our mission is to build medical AI to push the frontiers of medical knowledge and make world-class healthcare available for all. And if you're interested in reading more about our lab, we have a link there, so tinyurl.com/CalLabs. And we're supported and very lucky to have 16 lab members who are very, very passionate about medical AI. Hopefully you get to meet some of these people throughout the course. We have a lot of lab projects. I'm not going to get into all of them, but there's lots of really interesting avenues for medical AI, and so we hope that through doing this course, you actually get to see the really kind of interesting research questions that still remain within medical AI, and potentially get involved with medical AI research or startups or something in the field just to build things to help patients. Now, a lot of people now ask me about why I chose medtech. And so I've just kind of created a couple of slides to explain why, as a doctor, I decided to enter medical technology. And hopefully it's something that you start to think about as you progress throughout your career. And I usually break down this question into two. So why do I like medtech, and why is medtech important? So why do I like medtech? Building and inventing is really fulfilling, and hopefully you get a taste of that in this competition, because we're actually going to ask you to build things, which is going to be a new skill that you're going to develop. Mostly as doctors, you don't really get to build things. You don't really get to invent new things that, patients can actually use or other doctors can use. And so hopefully you kind of develop some of those skills. What you build, like I said before, can have massive impact, right? If you build something for a hospital with lots of patients, and they use it, it could have a huge positive impact on lots of patients just moving forward into the future. And then finally, you get a chance to be creative and curious, right? And so med school doesn't really strongly reward this, unfortunately, but hopefully you get a taste of what it's like to be curious and to ask questions, and to really, kind of think creatively about the kind of solutions that you want to build. Now, why is medtech important? It is one of the few levers in society to improve medicine, the other main two being research and public health. And so medtech is one of those fields where if you create some kind of new device or new software, you can actually improve healthcare. Society itself, I believe needs more doctors to invent. We've often left this to engineers, we've left this to kind of other people to sort out. But why can't doctors be involved with inventing new devices or new AI, right? I think doctors are some of the best placed people to build this. And then finally, it's kind of like my personal opinion that future generations deserve a lot better than what we have now. There's so many diseases that I wish that my grandchildren will never have. Hopefully they never get cancer. Hopefully they never get heart disease, right? We still have a lot of work to do. All right, so what is medtech? So before we kind of dive further into medtech, there is kind of ways or good ways to think about medtech. Now, the first is that you can actually slice medical technology into 3 disciplines, right? So we're going to be spending a lot of time in this one, but it's worthwhile knowing that there are other fields in medical technology. So the first one is digital health or medical AI. So this is medicine and digital health, right? Or AI. So things that is in software or in the digital world. The second is medical devices. So these are hardware, right? So things that you can hold in your hand, you can use on someone, things like a blood pressure device or like an ECG, right? And then finally, there's drugs and biotechnology. And these are things that act at the micro level, okay? So things that you cannot see with the human eye because it's so small. And so we'll talk about kind of exciting progress in each of these fields. From a digital health side, hopefully you know now that AI has become very, very powerful. So in a lot of countries now, people are using AI to diagnose conditions like fractures, right? Or catch things that, for example, radiologists might miss. People are starting to research using AI for surgery. So AI is starting to, be used for simpler surgeries, right? And then hopefully that, this technology can be used for more complex surgery. And then finally, everyone has hopefully heard of ChatGPT. ChatGPT has become very, very powerful in terms of learning, medical content and passing a lot of even things like medical exams as well. From a medical devices perspective, there's been a lot of progress recently in terms of chronic diseases. And so, for example, we see, a lot of progress from a diabetes standpoint. So there's lots of glucose monitors, which now have a very nice form factor. And so, individuals with type 1 diabetes can actually track how well their blood sugar is doing over extended periods of time. This is an old pacemaker. Pacemakers now actually look like this, right? And I don't know if you've actually seen them. Pacemakers have shrunk a lot. And so it's really easy now to actually insert these pacemakers in, and it's not considered a major surgery anymore. Then finally, I don't know if anyone actually has seen this device before. Can anyone actually guess what this device is? So this is some kind of an imaging device that used to be very, very large, right? And so you might have guessed it right, but this is actually an MRI machine. So if you've seen an MRI machine at the hospital, it's massive. It usually takes up an entire room, but MRI technology has progressed to a state now where it's very small and you can actually push it to the bedside of the patient, right? So kind of very cool technology that exists now. And then finally, from a biotechnology standpoint, we've had a lot of progress for conditions that, even 5 or 10 years ago, we didn't think was treatable. So for example, when I was going through medical school, weight loss and obesity was considered untreatable, right? Like very, very difficult to treat, or you needed surgery to treat it, right? But now with the invention of, drugs like semaglutide, a lot of people are losing weight very, very quickly. There are things like, cancer vaccines being developed. There's obviously things like genetic editing. The first patient to receive a genetic editing therapy, just got the therapy last year, right? So they were the very first patient to get treated for sickle cell disease. And then finally, there's all sorts of technologies that might change the way that we see the world as well. So in vitro gametogenesis is a very interesting technology that's being developed, whereby any human can actually, you basically take their skin cells and turn it to either sperm or eggs, regardless of what gender or sex they might be. So kind of very interesting technology because, in theory, like a male could actually develop an egg using this technology and a female could develop a sperm using this technology. So, all these kind of technologies are kind of tipped to change how we kind of see, society and even reality at large. Now, why medical AI in particular? Hopefully you've kind of seen the headlines about why medical AI has become, kind of a very hot topic in the medical field. There are, all sorts of papers like this one, AI chatbots defeated doctors at diagnosing illnesses. If AI can diagnose patients, then what are doctors for? The robot doctor will see you now. And hopefully you've actually played around with ChatGPT, but if you ask it a very difficult question, it does quite well, right? Like it does very decently for software, right? Like something that hasn't gone through medical school formally. And there's an increasing number of research publications which actually show that AI does do better than doctors. So this was a very famous study that was released in the New England Journal of Medicine just 2023 or late 2023, which basically asked AI to solve some of the hardest cases in medicine. So this is the clinical cases published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And as you can see, so this is the performance that you get when you guess. This is the performance of humans, right? So they got a bunch of humans to do this. And then this red line here is the performance of the AI. And you can see how the AI does better than the vast majority of humans, right? So very kind of interesting to see. There's another paper here that was released just late last year from JAMA, so the Journal of, I think, American Medical Association. And they basically did a randomized clinical trial to see whether LLMs by itself would do better than LLMs with clinicians. And the conclusion was that LLMs by itself did better, right? So we've always assumed that LLMs plus doctors would always do better, but this study actually found otherwise. So kind of very interesting high profile papers that seem to indicate that AI may actually do better than clinicians in many circumstances. Now, this kind of blurry mess here is AI agents using a medical record, right? So a lot of countries now have medical records which are electronic, and you can actually train AI to automatically sort out and deal with this interface, right? So software is getting very powerful because doctors can even leverage AI in order to control and modify stuff in the medical record itself. Now, I also have this slide here because it is getting increasingly easy to actually build AI, right? So AI tools have now also become not only powerful in medicine, but also powerful in software engineering, such that people who are not trained in code or how to code or software engineering can actually build things very, very quickly. And so we've been experimenting this in Australia with our lab and with our medical students. And medical students have been able to build some amazing things without any knowledge of software engineering whatsoever. And so we expect to do the same thing in this competition, which is we're going to teach you how to use some of these tools, and you're going to build some pretty cool stuff that, you always think a software engineer is needed to do, right? And the people who can use this tool kind of first will be very, very powerful within the space. And so we hope that you can learn a lot from that. Now, there is going to be a competitive aspect to this competition. It is a 2-week global competition. We have over 150 medical students from over 19 countries, so it's actually quite a big global representation. And there's going to be a bunch of prizes for those who win at the end. Now, the goals of this course is to build an intuition for you in AI, right? So we're not going to really spend a lot of time with the coding and math, unfortunately. So if you do want to dig into that, we're going to have some links for you if you want to learn. But no stress, right? Like some of this stuff is just for you to build an intuition and understand where AI is going. We want to bring you to the frontier of AI knowledge, right? Some of the stuff that we teach you was just released last week, just released yesterday, right? We're going to bring you to what is actually happening right now because it's a very fast field. And, a lot of the people in our lab, myself, part of our job is just to keep up with what's happening, right? And to understand what is happening. Even just a few weeks ago, even just yesterday, Gemini 3 released, right? So a lot of stuff is happening very, very quickly in this field. And we hope to provide you an opportunity to work on an exciting medical AI project, right? Hopefully something that, is kind of a rare opportunity in your medical schooling. And of course, we want you to have lots of fun, and meet some pretty awesome people. Okay, so in terms of how the weeks are structured, so week 1 is going to be teaching, a lot of teaching, right? So we're going to teach primarily about the basics, so things like neural networks, things like transformers, which hopefully you understand in a couple of days, what the state of the art right now is in AI. We're going to teach some biodesign basics, which is a methodology from Stanford University, which is great for understanding clinical problems. We're going to do a competition kickoff and then a number of workshops. In terms of week 2, this is going to be the competition week. And so you're going to focus on building a medical AI project. Okay, you're going to literally build it yourself in a team. You're going to aim to solve a healthcare need using what you build. We're going to have a video demo submission for all teams, and then finalists will present live. Now, we will also have a competition on the side as well, so a parallel competition that is optional, but we're going to get you to basically work with people from other universities. So if you want to work with people from other universities, this is strongly recommended for you. And basically, you're going to pick one healthcare challenge, right? So this could be things like access or cost, quality, education, whatever you'd like, and discuss how it shows up differently in your 3 countries. So we want you to learn about how this problem actually appears in different countries, right? Because as you hopefully know, different problems manifest very differently in different countries. And so it's very interesting to see, things like access or cost, how different countries actually deal with it, and some countries deal with it a lot better than other countries. And so we hope that you actually learn something during that time. And so you have to work with people from different countries, and some more information will be sent out about this one. There will also be prizes for this one as well. So some cash prizes for the best submission. And we're going to expect you to have a 3-minute video submission. Right. And so this is kind of an exciting time because I think a lot of people in the competition asked if they could actually meet people from other universities. And so we want you to be able to do that. All right. Some disclaimers as well. So these sessions will be recorded. Photos will be taken. Recordings may be used in other contexts, so please just reach out if there's any issues about that. Now, we have a competition website, so if you haven't seen this yet, please go to this website. We're going to post a lot of updates on this website. Okay, so monash-ai-challenge.notion.site. Just take a picture of that if you want to keep it. We also have a Discord as well, so this link as well. Just whip out your phone and take a photo of it. Please join the Discord. A lot of stuff is going to happen on the Discord. Any announcements, any kind of conversations, any questions you might have, all going to happen through Discord. If you're not familiar with any of these tools, please just feel free to reach out. Hopefully, Discord is something that a lot of people are familiar with because it's kind of used for all sorts of stuff. But yeah, take a picture of these links and please just join our Discord and website. All right, so we'd love to actually get to know you. So if you can spend some time, so we're going to give you 5 minutes to tell us a bit about yourself, right? So just where you're from, which university you're at, what year level you're in, what you actually know about medical AI, and maybe just something fun about yourself so we can learn a bit more about yourself. So if you can take a picture of this, we're going to give you 5 minutes and then we'll be back.